I don't know when and where.
Okay, well, let's see. So you can at least see what other people are saying.
Hello, ladies. We are now recording the grade 1 workbook 1 meeting. Okay, but it's not happening. Hey, the screen is not shared. Okay,
Go.
I must just see, where do I stop sharing? Stop sharing here. Because we can cut this out eventually, we can edit. Okay, let me see. Window, entire screen. Share.
Okay, so that must be done.
Hi, grade 1 teachers. So we are now catching up with the grade 1, book 1 orientation. I think from previous training, you all remember our little roadmap of how we turn spoken words into written words. So when our children come to grade RRR, we all know they can speak some words, but our aim in junior primary is to guide them to turn these words into written words. Before we start, let's just think about what their deficit is. Why do we have some children struggling with reading and spelling when they leave the junior primary years? Well, 27,000 studies have identified the problem, and it was found that 90 to 95% of children, the struggle is sound awareness, what we call phonemic awareness in school. So it's so important that we just refresh our memory and think, what do we actually mean if we say sounds or sound awareness? Well, this word sounds in Greek has the word phone in, phono, which refers to, we use our phone with our ears, not with our eyes. In other words, it's the things that we perceive using our ears. Our eyes can actually be closed. When you talk over the phone, you don't need your eyes. We can listen to music with our eyes closed. We don't even need them open. We don't use earphones with our eyes. We only use it with our ears. And grade 1 teachers, I think this word sounds is a very confusing word. And that's why at Time to Read, we rather want to talk about phonemes, because then you can be sure it's the things that we hear. Because sometimes teachers say sounds and they mean letters. So if we have the word bird, when we talk about sounds, we don't, or phonemes, we don't refer to those 4 letters. No, because those 4 letters we need our eyes for. When we talk about sounds or phonemes, it is what we hear in that word b, and d, which obviously is the skill of segmenting. Segmenting the one word into the 3 smallest things we can hear. That obviously is a pre-spelling skill. It will help me to spell words. But for written words, we need the opposite as well. We need to be able to put the b and the and the d, we need to be able to blend it into one word. And that's called blending. And blending is obviously a pre-reading skill. So ladies, what is so important in our teaching journey to know what should we teach first? Phonemes or symbols? Well, when we think of how words were invented, what came first is phonemes. So we need to teach phoneme and awareness first, because phoneme awareness will enable children to work with or use letters. the other way round is setting children up for failure. So our researchers have pointed out the deficit. The deficit is sound awareness or phonemic awareness, which is blending and segmenting primarily. We always add manipulation as well. So if we want to address that deficit, then we need to teach that first. And then we level the playing field. That's what we do. That literally is the medication. If we don't do that, we're setting our kids up for failure. So, ladies, at Time to Read, we want to teach written words the way they were invented, which is that little circle. Say the word, sound it out, code it, turn the sound buttons into symbols, and then only we read it. So, ladies, color is important here. The orange parts on the orange side of the screen all refer to what we do with our ears. Eyes are not necessary for that. So in grade, here are our skills, blending, segmenting, and as I said earlier, we're adding manipulation as well. So in grade RRR, our children were blending and segmenting and manipulating with words, because words are bigger than tiny little sounds. In grade RR, they went a little bit smaller to a clap. And then in grade R, the teacher spent quite a bit of time on moving from the clap to that tiny little sound. But the problem is you have new children in your class, and maybe some children that need a bit of refreshment in terms of sound awareness. That is why what we do right at the beginning, before starting to teach any letters, you need to know, do your children have the skills to work with letters? And then you actually get to know your children. You know so much about them. You know who has a deficit and who hasn't. So in other words, who is in that bottom at risk part. And that's why at the beginning of book 1, we have that little sound assessment. Why do we do it? Because we need to know, can children blend phonemes into words? Because once we give them letters, that's the purpose of having letters, is to blend them into a word, and the opposite for spelling as well. So ladies, this is a critical start to doing Time to Read in grade 1. If your children can't do this, ladies, please watch the grade R video. There we explain how to get them very quickly. The interpretation for this assessment is in the memo part of your planning documents. Now that we know our children can blend, they can segment with their eyes closed phonemically. They've got the skills to use letters. Now we're ready to teach letters. And at Time to Read, we always start easiest and build and go harder. So what we're going to do is we're going to revise the letters that we did in grade R for 2 reasons. First one is you have new children in your class. But the second reason is now we need to move from blending to reading. So in grade R, we wanted children to see the letter D and the O and the G. So those 3 letters are there. And we wanted them to read D, O, G and blend it into dog. But in grade 1, we need to go from blending with letters to reading. Ladies, for your at-risk children, that will take them a whole year. You will see initially that there's a lot of processing going on in their brains while they do that. Allow them that time. We will tell the parents also not to get anxious and impatient, because this is the stage where they need to feel success. You will see my daughter's, our little grandson is in grade R, and they're practicing this obviously every day now. And she just comes back every day and says, I cannot believe what 5 minutes of every single day do to him. She sees in front of her eyes how this little Luke is just turning from a blender with a lot of processing to all of a sudden gaining confidence, and things are going faster and faster. Remember how you learned to drive a car? Initially, everything was slow. You needed to process every step, and now you're driving automatically. The same is true for these little children. The more they practice, the better they become. So, ladies, this is our year plan. Now, remember, these weeks are a guideline. If you found in your assessment that auditory blending and segmenting is very poor with most of your children, pause until that is done, and then your grade 2 week will only start. So this is a skills-based program. The weeks are a guideline. Once the skills are in place, then you can move with our weekly layout. Okay, I hope that is clear. Then how to do it? Remember that in our method of time to read, we have 4 little steps. We always start by revising prior learning. That is the thing of building automaticity. The only road to automaticity is through revising every day. And it's not a matter of doing a lot, it's doing a little every day that gets us there. Why do we do that? Because we want to access prior learning. Remember that whatever new we want to teach, if we can't link it to prior learning, it's a very abstract way of teaching. So your revising part, revise what they need for what you want to teach today. So how do we revise? Flash the symbols daily or write them in the teacher guide. Obviously, in the planning, we have some ideas there for you. Once you are ready to teach, remember, we don't teach a new symbol every day at the beginning, usually 2 on Monday, and then for the whole week, there's no other teaching left. There's consolidation. But when we teach, these 4 steps are crucial. They need to become a default for the children, because this is how written words were invented. Say the word, sound it out, code it using your little coding buttons, write the symbols, and then read it. And you've closed the whole circle. As I said, you don't have a new symbol to teach every day. So on those days that you don't teach a new symbol, you go straight into consolidation. Flashcards obviously form part of the revision part. But for your at-risk children, when you have them in their little group, flash with them as well. Because often our top children shout out the words and they just move their mouth. So when you have the group at-risk children, just flash those symbols with them as well. Make sure that you watch who is answering with confidence. Now, one of the key activities in Time to Read is word building. Because through word building, and it's not the teacher writing the words, it's the kids using letter tiles or whatever, or a crayon or a chalk to build the words, because it makes them think. And word building we do by using these 4 steps. That's what word building is. Sound manipulation, games, and whatever. We'll chat about that a bit later. And then in grade 1, important, we've got that powerful tool of handwriting. We write the same symbol that we are teaching. Important research has shown that that is a powerful way of consolidating our symbol learning. Sentence construction, same thing. We only write sentences using the symbols we have learned. And then obviously we need to start with little comprehension exercises, because our kids have to see that reading has meaning. Now, from training, you will remember that we showed you how our planning works. We usually have an overview of our week plan. Ladies, we feel this is the only document that you need to print. You don't need to print the daily detailed explanation of what we do. when the Plan to Succeed app is launched, you will have it on your phone ready with you, and you can just reference it whenever you need. But when we did our in-depth training, you will remember we did put it out like this, okay? So, for example, on Monday, when you teach the cat mop letters, your teaching for the week has been done. You don't teach any other letters in that week and the next week. All you want to do now is in your phonics groups, consolidate using these 6 letters. So what does that mean? In our phonics groups, the way we structured them are that we have 4 activities that should be done every day by every child. Should take you about 15 to 20 minutes. Teachers do it differently. Some teachers do the 4 activities as a whole class. We want to encourage you to break up into 4 groups and rotate the 4 groups for the day. So this is a 60 to 80 minute reading hour that you have. So group 1, if you look at our planning, most of the time, we're not saying always, but most of the time, group 1 is the group that sits with you. This is where we do a bit of guided reading. That guided reading is very small at the beginning. And that's when you go into the workbook and you start reading words, phrases, and sentences. This is where you can ask children questions, look at the picture, what sentence do you think matches? You can already make them aware of a capital letter and a full stop. So this is where you can really build your children's comprehension vocabulary skills. You have a little bit of time with them alone. Group 2 is basically always a word building group. And ladies, this is a very, very important group because this is where the children need to say the word, code it, write it, and read it. Always using a picture. We never want them to copy a word that's pointless. They will never, ever go through, say, code, write, read. Never. They will just copy it, especially our little boys. But this is where you will use letter tiles, chalk, or whatever. There is a practical little implementation course coming up in February, and there we will have lots of little ideas for you in what you can do in that group. Group 3 is usually our writing group. For this group on Monday and Wednesday, we usually have a handwriting activity. Lauren has brought out beautiful tools for practicing handwriting. So if you can be there, I think it's 18 and 19 February, we will still send out an invitation. That will be amazing. And on Tuesday and Thursday is the sentence construction, which we start from level 4 when we do BDR. Ladies, there's a whole little thing about that we put in our planning for teaching sentence construction. Please reference the teacher guide for that. And group 4 is usually a little game. Bingo, lotto, snap, I have, who has, or whatever. Some of those games. So ladies, can you see that in these 4 groups, we use the taught symbols in different ways. So after a week or whatever, these symbols have been used over and over in different ways, shapes, and forms. So that's how we get this, how we address the need for symbol automaticity. So now the children have the skills of blending and segmenting, and now we making them use these skills in 4 different ways every day. So just to summarize, what does the learning cover in grade 1? Well, first of all, we go from blending to reading. And ladies, as we say in training, your at-risk kid will read sound by sound, onset rhyme, or the other way around until they finally develop fluency. Then ladies, also, as I said, the more they practice, the better the skill becomes. It is just one of those things. We're going to really address that in the parent meeting as well tonight. In the Plan to Succeed app, the parent version, we have really we've made a lot of effort to really have lovely things the parents can use to practice. The nice thing is that you set the level which letters are practiced for the parents, and they have activities to consolidate at home, working directly on what we're doing in the classroom. So actually, we hope that this will reduce the need for outside intervention people a lot. The parents really have access to things that can be done in the car, on the way to school. So it's really, hopefully, very practical. Now we're going to start teaching the sight words. Important, we want fluent reading. So the sight words in the training notes are at the bottom on page 34. They're also in the workbook, and in that link that Michelle sent, we have coded sight words for you that you can just copy. We want children to read these words by sight, but your at-risk children will blend them for quite a while. Please allow them to do that. That's just one of the things. Then, as we said, we're going to read words, phrases, then sentences. Important, ladies, we want to show children that reading has meaning. So comprehension is important. It's also important that the way we present our text is not always in the same way, because otherwise children only understand text if it's done in that way. So sometimes we want them to match and even make it look different the way we read and match. Sometimes we want them to answer yes or no. We want their friend to have a different answer, and they can discuss why one of them said yes and the other one said no. Sometimes we want them to select or choose. Sometimes we want them to fill in a missing word. So ladies, it's really important that what they read, the little comprehension part, looks different every time. Lastly, handwriting and introducing sentence construction. Ladies, as mentioned earlier, don't forget your handwriting and your phonics needs to match. They can't be different. Okay, very, very important. You can't teach children to write letters that they don't know what sound they represent. When you do sentence construction, remember I just said that in the planning document, when it is, I think it is BDR, yes, it is level 4. Ladies, there we really have quite a nice little activity for you that you can use for teaching what the difference is between a sound, a letter, a word, a sentence. They need to understand that terminology. You can't ask them to write a sentence and they actually don't know what a sentence is. We suggest that you first use word tiles. They are all there in the planning. We've got them for you. You can just copy them and cut them up. You don't need to make your own. Lauren has got an amazing sentence construction activity there. I already ordered one for my little grandson. I just think it is amazing. So ladies, first children need to be able to label, write one word at a time. Then we want them to, before they think of their own sentence, teach them the structure of a sentence. In our sentences, we provide a big scaffold at the moment. We actually give them the beginning and the ending word because we give them the capital letter and the full stop. So at the beginning, they need lots of scaffolding. And then as we go to book 2, we withdraw the scaffolding slowly but surely. You can also give them, there's a little booklet that they can make. Remember when you go through the booklet and model some sentences that we can write, please only use taught letters. Something like Pam can run. It is Tom. Your top children will just simply write way longer sentences, and that is fine. But your at-risk children don't have to sit there and think, how will I write Pam is running to the shop and buying a pen or whatever. They're going to sit there and think, I can't do that. But if you model Pam can run, they will have confidence in giving you that. And as we said in training as well, remember, especially with your top group, you can even do little poems using only alphabet sound symbols. So ladies, homework reading, for those of you that have the Read and Grow book, just, I would say, leave it at home. It doesn't even have to come to school. You will know which kids are doing the homework and which not. You can use our paper readers. And then, ladies, please don't forget that on the Plan to Succeed app, we've got little interactive reading exercises for them to do as well. You can do them in class, and the parents can do them at home as well. Just to let you know again, the Plan to Succeed app replaces YouTube. It replaces the Time to Read website, and it replaces the Google Drive link. So now you have everything on one platform. Okay. We want you also just to be a little bit patient with us. Whatever app is launched for the first time, there always tend to be little bugs. Ladies, please don't come down shouting at us. What our wish for you is to see that not only from Michelle and my side, the documents we created, we really put in a lot of love, but also the developers. We actually wish you could meet them. They put so much love in it. So we just ask for a little patience. If there are bugs, it's been tested through and through. But if there are bugs, just have a little grace. Thank you, ladies. And as always, please contact us privately if you have any questions or whatever. We would love to engage with you. Thank you so much.